On behalf of Lakeland Regional Health's Board of Directors and Administration, I would like to welcome you to the celebration of our trauma survivors. Trauma Awareness Day allows trauma survivors and trauma team members to reunite and recognize the appreciation for the ways they have touched each other's lives. Today, we are called together to celebrate, reflect upon, and pay tribute to the perseverance of our trauma survivors and trauma team members. Their perseverance and the stories that they will share are an inspiration that continually installs a renewed sense of passion and commitment to excellence. A commitment that has been at LRH consistently for the last 20 years. Today, we extend our deepest appreciation to our dedicated trauma team members, to the pre-hospital emergency medical services, fire rescue, and flight crews who provide initial care to our patients, thank you. To all the staff in the emergency department, operating room, radiology, intensive care units, and trauma units, the interdisciplinary team members, which includes the respiratory therapist, physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech, chaplain, social services, dietary, and pharmacy, and to the trauma clinic staff and Banish Rehab Institute, our surgeons, advanced practice providers, and our executive team and beyond. That's a whole lot of people. We thank you. The impact that every single one of you makes by providing extraordinary care each and every day plays a vital role in every single one of our trauma patients' lives. Your relentless commitment is not only remarkable, it is invaluable. Thank you, each and every one of you. I would also like to thank and welcome our first distinguished guest speaker, Florida House Representative Colleen Burton.
Yeah.
You're up.
Thank you for that very quick introduction. I thought I was following Janet Fansler here. Well, good morning. I think it's still the morning, or what time? It's afternoon. Right? For my day, it's good afternoon, everybody. I am delighted. I'm going to move over here. I wanted to move around to be here with you today. I did pull up a little research to find out all about trauma centers, what I didn't know already about the levels, and we have Trauma 1, Trauma 2. We are truly blessed, and I know you all feel personally blessed that we have an outstanding trauma center here in Lakeland that serves, as you know, not just Lakeland, but counties that are close to us. We're lucky people, we have a place where people can go. We truly, truly are. And I have a little personal story that nobody knew about when they invited me to come today, because I've had my own experience with a trauma center, not here in Lakeland, but here in the state of Florida, about 7 weeks ago, when somebody very close to me needed help and needed it quickly. My mother had a massive stroke. And it is thanks to those people who got her where she needed to be, who picked her up at home, who knew where to take her. She was lucky. She had a trauma center with a stroke center, just like we have here in Lakeland. And there were people there who not only were trained, but who cared about making sure that she had the best possible outcome that she could possibly have. I know that has been your experience also. So for those of you who are family members of people who have been fortunate enough to, at least if they have to go to trauma center, to have ours here in Lakeland to attend, if you will, or to pass through the doors of. I mean, family members here today, I am one of you. I am absolutely one of you. And if the trauma center that took such great care of my mother has an event like this, I certainly would want to be there sitting next to her, because I know those of you who are patients or former patients who are in the room today, I know it is not just the professional top level skills that your trauma surgeons, nurses, everybody who got you, or everybody who touched you, I'm going to say they probably cared for you, right? They really cared for you. It was important to them that you had the best possible outcome that you can have. And you're sitting here today as testament to that. You're representing the hundreds, probably certainly thousands of people who have passed through the doors of Lakeland Regional and been served in the trauma center, the emergency department, and then also at the trauma center by surgeons, by everybody who touches patients. We are blessed. We are truly blessed to have the best in medical care right here in our community that serves not only Lakeland and Polk County, but the surrounding region. I mean, there are people who can get here very, very quickly, like me. I can drive my own car here in 10 minutes, so I figure an ambulance can get me here in 15. So, you just gotta get me out the door. So, but you know, I can get here quickly, but even folks who can't drive here, there's air. I mean, we can get them here in a helicopter very quickly, and they can be getting the best care that you can get in the state of Florida right here in Lakeland. So I am truly privileged to stand here with you, those of you who are former patients, family members. Again, I am one of you. To everybody who's associated with the trauma center and with the great care that I know is given, not just the skill, but I know the care, the help, the care that you give to the families. As a family member of somebody with recent trauma experience, I can tell you that reassuring just look from the nurses in ICU who were taking care of my mom helped all of us. The doctor's willingness to stand there and answer a lot of questions, right? Because you have a lot of questions. I mean, who prepares to do this? Nobody, except for those who care for us. Was immeasurable what they did to help us as her family members. So again, I appreciate that I was asked to be with you today. I am, for those of you who don't know me, as she so quickly said, my name is Colleen Burton. I'm privileged to serve as the state representative for Lakeland. And I actually am really excited that I get to be on the Health Appropriations Committee in Tallahassee. That's a lot, yeah, that's a lot. But the reason I asked actually to be on that committee is because healthcare to me is one of the most important things that we do. And here in the state of Florida, it's the biggest chunk of the budget out of the state budget. So I think it's very important. So again, privileged to be here with you today. Delighted to see that you're all here today. It's a good thing, it's a good thing. And thank you to everybody, the staff, from those who transport people here, to everybody who gets, and those of you who get to pass them on to the next level of care, to the step-down units, and to the nurses and the doctors and everybody who helps people get, have success in the trauma center and then get out of here. It's a good thing. So thank you. I'm delighted to be here with you today. Can't wait to hear your story.
Thank you, Representative Britton. I appreciate that. The next distinguished guest speaker I'd like to thank and welcome is our City Commissioner, Jim Mullis.
You know, I get to follow Colleen, and that's kind of a hard person to follow because she's so energetic and so just telegenic, isn't she? So, and thank you for serving. We appreciate it. You know, I don't understand why I'm here in some ways. You know, we were asked to speak about a topic, and I said, ooh, that sounds interesting. I'd like to go to the hospital and speak on trauma. And then I go, I know nothing about it. I've not had a real personal experience with it. I've been in an ambulance once. So I haven't sat with a lot of the folks in this room. I haven't sat, except for one time, with an ambulance driver and paramedic taking me to the hospital. But I know something about people who love what they do. And I've been around enough policemen, I've been around enough paramedics, I've been around enough firefighters, and unfortunately enough doctors over time, and I was married to a nurse, that those people really love what they do. And they take that love and they run it through their brain, and they create these skill sets, and they pour them, the doctors, the nurses, and everybody else pours it out to you, the person that needs their love, their help, their hands. And so, as a city commissioner, you think about things like, how do we help the hospital be successful? We try to do that. We have a great partnership with the hospital, obviously, and it's changed over the years. But the city needs to do everything to make sure that our hospital is strong and well positioned to go into the future to provide the services so that you folks who need the trauma unit can get to the trauma unit and have a unit that is fully staffed, ready to rock and roll and save your lives. For the families of the people who spend time in the trauma units, thank you for supporting the staff. I know at times that it's hard, that you're asking questions, you don't understand what's going on. But at the end of the day, I know that you also love the staff and support them back. So what I would just like to say is, this isn't quite Woodstock, but to me it feels a little bit like a love fest. So I would just like to give everybody a round of applause for the transport folks, the EMS, the drivers, the nurses. God, I love nurses. Amen, brother. And for the families and the doctors. just a round of applause for all the good that we do, for the fact that we're able to be healthy and you're able to be here healthy and whole. And for that, a round of applause.
Thank you, Commissioner Mullis. There's lots of seats in the front. Well, not lots, but there's some seats in the front if anyone would like to come forward and sit down. So in 1997, when our trauma center first opened, we had 450 trauma patients. Last year alone, LRH was able to provide exceptional care to over 2,600 trauma patients. Wow. This remarkable achievement was a collaborative effort made possible in part through innovative leaders like our next guest speaker, Chief Nurse Executive and Medical Center Executive Vice President, Dr. Janet Fansler.
Well, good afternoon. And on behalf of executive leadership, I would like to thank all of you for being here today, from our trauma survivors to their families, to Representative Burton and Commissioner Mullis. And Diana eloquently identified, I think, everybody on the team, so I won't go, so thank you. So we're here today, a day of celebration, and it's been found that messages of hope and support by every one of us create a voice of compassion and solidarity. So I wanted to share a couple of messages with you today, one from a trauma survivor and one from the wife of a trauma survivor. And they were so inspirational to me, so I wanted to share those with you. Does that sound okay? Okay. So this is from a trauma survivor. I focused on what I can do and not what I lost. To this day, I work to recover mentally and physically. I was, and still am, also blessed to have amazing support from my family and friends. And they didn't say this, but I mean, that's the amazing part, the support from family and friends. Without them, I would have never made it this far. What I want other trauma survivors to know: never quit. Never quit. Don't be afraid to ask for help. This journey is a marathon, not a sprint. It's possible to recover and live a happy and productive life. Sometimes you have to go through something horrible before you get to a better place. And I am not the person I was before the crash. I'm better. This is from, and this is from a message from a wife of a trauma survivor. His final and 26th surgery was August 26th. Hundreds of miles traveled, hundreds of doctor appointments, thousands of hours spent recovering from each procedure. Every moment has been worth it to have him still with us. We have had to make adjustments to our lifestyle, but it hasn't stopped us from living. This chapter in our lives have made us stronger, more connected, and tougher as a family. It has not been easy by any means. Every time I read this, I get kind of teary. We still have good days and bad days. The opportunity to pay it forward through the Trauma Survivors Network has been the best therapy for all of us. We finally understand that we have been given the opportunity to serve a bigger purpose and to give back to families who are going through what we went through. This gives us the ability to offer comfort and company to those who might feel alone like we did. And finally, embrace every single moment of every single day. So we look forward to hearing from the rest of you this afternoon as we continue this wonderful celebration of Trauma Survivors Day. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fansler. So today, I'd also like to call recognition to all the friends and family who have courageously provided compassionate support to our trauma survivors. Thank you, for you are also, in many ways, a trauma survivor. On behalf of Lakeland Regional Health and the entire trauma team, please join me in warmly welcoming our first trauma survivor guest speaker, Mr. Bon DeLong.
Well, it's an honor to be here today. And when Diane called me a few weeks ago, I could feel and I could hear some tension in her voice. She was a little bit hesitant to ask me to come in. And I understood that, and I tried to put her at ease as much as I could. See, I'm here representing a non-survivor, and that's tough because the word survivor's everywhere here, but there's a lot of things that go with the word surviving. And I'll be honest, my wife came in here almost a year ago, June 3rd. 74 days over the summer. She spent 30 operations. Her last was August 15th, the day she passed. The reason I'm here is not to bring everybody down, though. And I know you think, well, that's not a happy story. We're here. Every day of my life is a blessing. And I can't stand here and speak without sharing that I have an extreme amount of faith in God. Not everybody buys into that, and I don't force it on anybody. But when I walk out of the room, everybody pretty much knows where I stand. And I'm okay with that. If anybody wants to throw something and hit me later on, feel free. Okay, I'm sure some probably do. But if it wasn't for that faith, I wouldn't be here today. And, you know, everybody's thinking, you know, I get this every day of my life. Oh, you've lost so much. Yeah, I have. Okay, I lost, the love of my life. There's nothing happy about that. Truthfully, I never deserved her to begin with. So I was blessed to be married for 22 years to Tammy. Now, our journey here, and I love that word, it's in the program here. Our journey here started June 3rd. And for 74 days, I got a glimpse, a pretty good glimpse, because I was here 24/7 most of those days, into what it takes to run the trauma unit. And, you know, it got to the point where I was actually able to do some things that I felt like I probably should have been on payroll, you know, because I wasn't just, you know, the guy holding her hand. I was in there trying to do as much as I could to help the nurses and doctors as much as I could within reason. But I'll be honest with you, what I saw for 74 days just blew me away. Because I'll speak of the doctors first. Dr. Sobowale's here, and I'm sorry I didn't see who else might have walked in the room, but Dr. Sobowale and probably about 15 others, trauma surgeons, operated on my wife, and they could have given up at any point. There are dozens of nurses here that celebrated with me every little minor test result, lab result, and broke down in tears when we had the setbacks. So you can't tell me that it's a job for them. It's more than that. I know there's a paycheck, but it's more than a job. And I'm forever grateful again. And I try to come back here from time to time, and I try to say thank you in the form of chocolate or sandwiches or whatever kind of goodies I can bring, and it doesn't really do it justice. You know, nothing ever will do it justice. And again, I get up every morning, and I'm a pretty positive person. I truly am blessed. I have 4 amazing kids. I have a lifelong friendship with so many people here. Okay, I'm looking at seeing them getting married and having kids, and I'm a part of their lives now. Now, granted, if I could go back a year ago and change things, I would. So I wouldn't have met these people under my circumstances. I am honored that I do know these people, and I can come in here and walk in and get hugs every now and then and see the tears flowing. But just so you know, and I know we got some survivors that are going to come up here and speak, or family members. My wife did survive. Okay, she didn't walk out of here, but she is healed. And I was able to explain to the nurses just a few days later, you did your job. She's healed. okay? I didn't realize 2,600 people last year. Wow. I felt like we were the only one every day. And I know there were 15 other rooms, I think, in that trauma department, 16, 17, whatever. We felt like we were the only ones there because the attention and care we got every single day, 24 hours a day, was off the charts. Okay? So, forever grateful. I'm honored to be here. Maybe I'm not necessarily happy to be here, but it is an honor and a blessing. And just a few months after my wife passed, a very good friend of mine came into this trauma department, and it's just an awesome thing to see Dennis sitting here today. Friend and coaching adversary. Coach against each other for years. So it is a family atmosphere. I'm grateful to be a part of that family. I know when I walk in here, people say, "Oh, that didn't go like we wanted it to go." No, it didn't. But it went the way he wanted it to go. Okay? And he's in charge. Sorry, doctors. He's the one that's in charge of all of us. And I'm blessed, and it's by the grace of God that I'm able to get up, put my shoes on every day, and go out and share his love. And in another way, my wife's love. Because any of you ever know her or knew her, you knew she was better than me at everything. I promise you that. So I'm just trying to carry on her legacy and at the same time tell her story, because she couldn't tell her own story for those 74 days. So thank you for the invite. I appreciate it, and I will be honored to come back anytime you'll have me, even though I feel like I kind of brought the room down a little bit. I didn't mean to do that. This is a day of celebration, and it's a day of thanks. So all these fine people that are lined up around here, nurses, doctors, transport, people that do not ever get thanked enough. And no amount of chocolate or cupcakes or whatever will do that justice. So thank you from the bottom of our heart, our being me and my family. You changed our lives, you know, and without y'all, I can't imagine how bad it could have turned out. And I know you might be thinking, well, it did turn out bad. No, it didn't. It turned out right. Okay? It turned out the right way. And anyway, I appreciate y'all giving me this time, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of these other stories. And thank you again.
So thank you, Mr. DeLong, for your courage, and you just continue to inspire us every single day. I know that he was right. That phone conversation was one of my hardest I had when I called back a lot of you. But thank you, and I'll never forget it. I'll never even forget that phone conversation. So thank you for being here, and we definitely appreciate it. So our next speaker, please join me in welcoming our next inspirational trauma survivor, Mr. Daniel Moody, and his wife.
Well, I've got my support here, and my name is Dan Moody, and I have my mom here, and my daughter, and my good friend Janice Thompson, who was here many days at the hospital when we went through this. But I always get emotional coming back here, and I don't come every year, and I was asked to come back this year, and I think I was here last year and some years before, but I'm going to tell you about my story, and I'll try to be real brief. One thing I would like to say, though, from the very beginning is that Polk County, as Representative Burton has mentioned, has a great system. We have a great system. We're all to be lucky that we have this system, especially me and the other survivors. And I did note when I looked up there and said celebrate survivors, I think we ought to change that term to celebrate the lucky survivors. And we need to celebrate those that didn't survive, but they were trauma awareness patients, because it is luck and faith and God. And my wife always says, you know, God has a plan for us, and you know, however it turns out is however it's going to turn out. But one one thing I want to say is someone mentioned, and it might have been you, Diane, that we've come a long way. And that is a profound statement. And I can tell you that when I was looking at this photograph up here of different survivors, and I saw my dad sitting there, and he passed in 2008. But to get where I want to go with this, to tell you a little history there, my dad owned a funeral home, and he owned and operated a funeral home in South Polk County for about 35 years and then retired. But in those days, the funeral home was the ambulance service. And there's a little bit of a conflict of interest there. But I can remember those nights where my dad would say, he'd come in and get me when I was in high school, "Come on, we've got a call, we got to go." And I'd get in the ambulance with him, we'd go out to the scene, and it'd be a car crash or whatever, a train wreck or whatever. And we would, the thing back then was just stop the bleeding, stop the bleeding, put them in the car and get them to the hospital. And that was way back when we had Polk General Hospital, and that was the first hospital that you would take people in the south end of the county. Well, that was the kind of like the trauma center. And man, has it come a long way. And I want to say that it goes from the first responders, fire and rescue people, helicopter people, really from the first call that someone dials in on 911 and things start to happen. They start to happen very quickly. And if everyone does their job, which 99.9% of the time they do, then things are going to turn out the way they're supposed to turn out. And for me, I got lucky. I'm one of the lucky survivors. But I want to thank everyone, from the first responders to the nurses to the the staff, especially the doctors. Dr. Sabawali saved my life for sure, and we're good friends. We were friends before, we're friends now. And thank you, Dr. Sabawali, and your team. And when I say team, I mean everybody. The nurses were awesome. So my journey, if you will, my day began back in 2006. It's been 11 years now. May 16th, 2006. I was just right at 11 years. And it was a day like all days, a normal day, routine, getting ready to go to work. Drop my kids off, my one son on the school bus, and my daughter was in high school. I said, be careful, it's raining outside. So I started to work. At the time I had 3 law offices, one in Bartow, one in Lakeland, one in Tampa. And so I'm driving to work, normal day, routine day, and it's raining, hard rain. And I had this car that I hadn't had very long, and it was a Porsche 911, and it had a warning in the manual, which I didn't read. It said, be careful in inclement weather. And so I'm just driving along with traffic because this car had wide tires on the front and the engine was in the back. The car hydroplaned on me. And when it hydroplaned on me, it went across the median, struck a guardrail, came out in the northbound traffic there south of Bartow Air Base. And my car was stopped, and a lady in a van going 50 miles an hour hit me right in the driver's side door. And you could have drawn a line down the middle of her car, down the middle of my door on my car, and it would have matched perfectly. And needless to say, I was having a bad day that day. And fire rescue got there. They were going to try to helicopter me out, but the weather was too bad for the helicopter to come. So what I remember really after the car hydroplaned was thinking, everything's going to be all right. I'm just going to come to a stop. And then my next recollection is the EMT, I don't know who it was, but I've heard people say, we helped you that day. They had to pretty much cut me out of the car to get me out. But I heard a voice saying, hang on, and So that's really what I heard, and I didn't hear anything after that for a while in my mind that I can recall. I can't recall anything before that. But I hear a voice saying, "Hang on, buddy, we're going to get you there. Hang on, buddy, we're going to get you there." And then I'm going to tell my wife how she learned of the crash. She works in the ER. This is Nancy Moody. She's a physician assistant.
So I got the phone call about 8:30 in the morning, and it was the charge nurse of the emergency room. And she had told me that Dan was in a car accident. He was a trauma patient. And so I thought to myself, well, sometimes patients are called trauma patients, but when they actually come in, there's not much to them. So being a positive thinker and always thinking of the positive, I thought, well, okay. I said, I'll come. And she says, you have somebody to drive you? And I said, no. I said, I'll be fine, Sally. Don't worry about it. I can make this. And so I started driving. She called me about halfway in, and she said, well, she says, how are you doing? And I said, I'm fine. And I said, the only thing I ask you for, Sally, is that you don't stop me from seeing him. And she said to me, she said, well, Nancy, we're going to have to stabilize him first. So then I knew it was really bad. So anyway, probably the first time I got to see him was actually in the CAT scanner, and he was intubated and unconscious. And his injuries included numerous injuries, pneumothorax, a hemothorax. He had a ruptured diaphragm, and all his intestines were into his chest. He had a ruptured vessel in his pelvis. He had 5 or 6 pelvic fractures. He had 2 cranial nerve injuries involving his eye and his shoulder. And so needless to say, the first 2 weeks, it was very touch and go. And I can remember sitting by his bedside, and never once did I think he would not survive. I always kind of felt like whatever it took. And I can remember on the 4th day, Sobowali had come in, and I call him Sobowali because that's what we call him in the ER. But anyway, Sobo had come in, and he had a really high fever, Dan did, and I remember him doing a bronchoscopy, and he had a tube down suctioning his lung, and it was nothing but pus coming out. And I remember his face, and I remember him looking at me, and almost like, and he just stopped, and he just looked at me like, I can't do any more. This is it. If he doesn't survive this, there's nothing more I can do for him, because he had done the life-saving emergency surgery. Had to take him back a second time. So anyway, but I was like, okay, what kind of antibiotic are we starting him on? And we just went from there. And so for me, I guess I never really thought he was going. I think I probably would have been the biggest one shocked if he would have not survived. But I always thought he would.
There were a lot of people that were betting that I wouldn't make it, and I want to comment on that just a little bit. But my next memory, I kind of left off where, what I remember before, but my next memory was waking up and thinking I was paralyzed from the neck down because I couldn't move anything. And I was laying there in a neck brace, and was intubated for about 2 weeks, I think it was. And so I remember, and this is for all the nurses that are treating people and thinking that the patient's doesn't know what's going on. Sometimes we do know what's going on. And I could make out things. I could make out, they were a little sketchy, but I could make them out, and I know a lot of the trauma patients that are here will understand this, but you know what's going on. And I knew who was around me. And so, at any rate, the nurse was there, one of the nurses, and she said, he doesn't know anything. He can't do anything. He doesn't really understand what we're talking about. And Nancy, to her credit, said, he wants to say something. He wants to do something. He's trying to get our attention. And again, I was intubated at the time. So Nancy said, get an alphabet chart, get an alphabet tablet. And she brought out a tablet there with the alphabet, and I picked out the words, "What happened?" because I didn't even know what happened. And I think that was kind of a turning point for her. Nancy and my family that I kind of was there, and I knew things and was things were going to change. It's a long rehab from something like that. I was hospitalized for over 2 months in rehab, went through all the physical therapies you can imagine, had to learn how to do all the normal, what we call, that we take for granted, normal bodily functions. Talk, had to learn how to talk, walk, had to learn how to go to the bathroom and eat, had to learn how to eat again, had to learn how to speak again. So you're starting all over again, and it's a struggle. And you have to be positive, you have to have a good attitude, you have to have a good support group, you have to have good therapists, and you have to have, for all the healthcare providers, be positive with your patients, because patients need to hear that. They need to hear the encouragement, they need to hear the, you're going to pull through this. It's going to take some time, but you're going to get there. And you have to be pushed. And that's what I loved about the physical therapist, because many times you don't want to do it, and then the ones that are good will push you. And they'll get you up to the mountain. And then, another thing is to patients that, you're told that, well, you're as good as you're going to get about a year out. That's not really true, because 5 years out, I was still improving. I'm still improving now. So, time heals. They say the body can take care of itself 80% of the time. Thank God the other 20% of the time we have doctors that are good doctors that take care of us. But I have one funny story. Last time I told a funny story about Dr. Sobowale and our encounter before my car accident. But I want to tell a story about, I had this one nurse named Dolores. And Dolores, she was a big girl, and she could transfer me over. When I was talking about, learning how to go to the bathroom, I don't know why, but when you have a bowel movement, when you've gone through something like that and you hadn't had one for a month or something, when you have a bowel movement, that's a big thing. That's a really, it's like a birthday party. Everybody celebrates. And so Dolores was, instrumental in transferring me over and helping me with all that. And then one day came and they said, you're going to get a shower today. And man, I tell you what, I was ready for a shower. And I think this again was about a month and a half into it. And so Doris and her friend, they wheeled me down in a wheelchair because I couldn't for 6 months, I could put no weight bearing on my feet, or my legs rather. And so they wheeled me into the shower in a wheelchair. We were sitting there and that warm water was flowing, and you're like, oh man, this is heaven. It's funny how we take things for granted, but that was the best thing ever, to have that water running over your body. And I told Dolores, I said, I've always dreamed about taking a shower with two women, but I never dreamed that it was going to happen like this. So it was, and they got a kick out of that. But you do have some great dreams when you're in there, because they put you on the morphine, and the morphine does something for you. That the dreams are so vivid. But moving on from that, what have I learned from this experience? I would just say that, my faith is a lot stronger. You take each day as a new day, and your life's different, and you enjoy yourself in the moment. You don't really look too far ahead. Somebody said this earlier, you never give up. You never stop trying. You have to persevere, and you have to have that attitude. And that's one thing I do in my office. I require each employee to have a good attitude. If they don't have a good attitude, don't come to work. So attitude is very important. It's hard to look at the good side of things, but there are good things that come out of bad things. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody. I don't know if Nancy wants to say
I
anything.
think we've got it.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you both, Mr. and Miss Moody. And I agree, we're lucky to have you, but we're also lucky to have a trauma center in our community that we can serve you. So thank you very much. So please now join me in sincerely welcoming the final scheduled trauma survivor speakers, Monica and Gary Gwynn. And Brock.
Hi there, I'm Gary Gwynn, my wife Monica. This is Brock, he's the survivor. And from a parent's point of view, and our story's a little different. We did some time here in outpatient, but Brock's accident was up in Georgia. And we were in Inglewood when we got the call, and I can speak firsthand to all, everybody, all the first survivors that we had to talk to. In a way, I'm glad I wasn't at his accident. He had a four-wheeling accident that caused a severe traumatic brain injury. So when we got the call, it was a Sunday afternoon, and they were airlifting him out, and we spoke to the paramedics, and never did meet, the one person we never did meet was the helicopter ones, and we met some that worked there later in the hospital. And to all y'all, the first responders, it's just amazing what you do, how much care, even on the spot. But then we started driving, and to the doctors, it's a foreign language when they're calling, oh, we need permission to do this, because he was only 14 at the time. And we're like, whatever, whatever that procedure is, I guess do it. He had the bolt in his head and to drain the pressure from the brain injury. And all we could do was pray just the whole way there. Even when we made it. He had to go to Memorial Hospital in Savannah, which is another level 1 trauma. And as we went there, so we had, I guess, just processing it for about 6 hours driving there, and fending calls the whole time. And it was just pouring down storm the whole way, so it seemed like it took forever. And as we got there, we were welcomed by the whole staff. They took us into a waiting room and kind of explained where he was and the situation. And at the time, we know now much more about brain injuries than we'd ever want to. I'm glad we didn't know that much before, because it was kind of a blind ignorance and just a blind faith in the Lord to pull him out of it. But he didn't have the surgeries like some of them did, but in that you could almost look at him. He had to have a couple surgeries, but you could almost look at him and he looked normal. But then every day, we were gone for about 4 months with him up there in recovery, and he was in a coma for several weeks. And just the trauma units, you guys do such a good job as doctors, nurses, supporting the families. I mean, like, we lived in a Ronald McDonald House when we were up there, and it's true, the questions that are asked, and even as all the doctors there, you really don't know with brain injuries. You don't know which way it's going to go, good, bad, or indifferent. And we've met a lot of people, and a lot of friends along the way in that realm. And and it's just people stop at all levels of recovery. And it's the support that you guys can give as doctors and nurses and as a trauma unit is just vital to the family, because there's just the fear and the faith, and they don't know what happened. I don't want to take too long. I'm gonna let my wife Monica talk from her point of view, and then
Shout
Brock's
out
gonna
to my
say a few
family
words.
back there. That's my cousins. Anyway, I grew up in Plant City, but we have, lived in Lakeland since we've been married 21 years and raised our children here, and have spent some time here at this hospital with Gary's mom, and just love this hospital, love the staff here, and we had just a wonderful support system when we were here. And when we were away as well, Dr. Wall, I don't know if he's in Charlotte, they were just a huge part of just even reaching out where we were to communicate, to make sure, just taking care of us from afar, which, I mean, is amazing, I can't say enough about the support system of a good medical staff, and what, you know, I still in constant touch with the nurses that took care of him. I mean, they were like family. I know all of y'all know that who have been a part of it. They cry with you, they grieve with you, they laugh with you, and they just get you through. And it's just an amazing thing. We're very thankful. Brock is still here. Like he said, we were 4 months away from home before we could come back home. They told us in ICU that there was a very high chance that he would never walk or talk again. About 10 days into it, when they could do the final MRI, that his had such a massive amount of shearing in his brain that they could not promise us that he was going to overcome this. And at that point, it looked like he would survive, but we would most likely be bringing a very handicapped child home to take care of. So needless to say, I was on my knees a lot. And I'm thankful as well for my faith and our faith as a family, because that is one of the main things that gets you through. So we prayed a lot, and little by little, one little thing, you know, would happen, and he'd, you know, get his eyelid would move, or he'd have some kind of gas, whatever, gag reflex.
Right.
I'm just, you're hopping up for joy over this, and it's, you know, we're still got a long ways to go, but every little thing that would happen was a sign, and it was a hope. It was a hope. And so everything that would happen, we would thank God, and we would just pray for the next thing to happen, and we would just wait. And his recovery has been nothing short of a miracle. They told us you know, with younger people, they have seen it go either way, but they could not promise us which way it would go. And so we, you know, after these things started coming, then he went to his inpatient facility for care, and he was there for a couple of months. And I'll let Brock tell you a little bit about that, because that's kind of where his memory comes back. I was surprised when we got home from the accident. I asked him, I said, well, you know, obviously the ICU part you don't want to remember. We're thankful they don't remember what happens in there, but I was surprised at how much he remembered, because he was still on the scale when he got to rehabilitation, very low. He still wasn't very responsive. He was just starting to focus in on your eyes, you know, or not the blank stare. So we had to wait a little bit where he could actually participate, and not knowing if he would be able to. But anyway, he surprised me with his answer when he told me how much he remembered from physical therapy, occupational, all that stuff. So I'll let him share a little bit.
Well, hi guys. Anyways, I actually didn't at first. It nothing. I remembered absolutely nothing, and I was woke up one day in a hospital, super scared, have no idea what's going on. Then over time, I came home. It was at one Sunday at church. I looked to my mom and I'm like, dude, I remember everything. And then it didn't come back in bits and pieces at a time, but it all came back at one moment, all of it. And then I remembered my accident, not exactly what happened, but I remember being at the hunting camp. I remember where it took place. I remember all this stuff, and then a lot of the stories that have been told to me through from my hospitalization to the point of where I was, I started remembering the stuff, and then the pictures and all this stuff, it would start coming back, and almost I was there a day ago or whatnot. And then it's just incredible that, because through this accident, the physical therapy center and where I did occupational, physical, and speech therapy,
It was here, the Lakeland
Regional,
We were home
and
by that time.
yeah, at this point we're home, and I'm going to school, but then I'm going straight to the therapy, and those people are probably my physical therapist, George is his name, and to be exact, but I still talk to him on a regular basis. He's such and the thing is we both played soccer, except I mean, I don't know, he might play for adult league or whatnot, but I played soccer for my school, and that's how we kind of like connected, because we knew both like all the professional soccer players, and we bonded in that way. And then like we would always do that to get me like uplifting, and like because I didn't know if I was going to be able to play soccer again on a like competitive team, and on like with everything that happened, I want to know if like I was going to be back at that level of soccer or that like skilled again. But over time and through all the physical therapy that Lakeland Regional did with me, and through everything to get me back to where I am, I can't be any more thankful and like so grateful for everything they did, because like that is probably one of the only reasons that I'm back doing everything that I was doing before, and doing it better than this time. And so like that's why I kind of say it's like my second life almost, because like, all right, we're just gonna press the restart button, and then we're gonna redo that. And so then I'm like so tremendously blessed to be where I'm at, and it's due to the therapy from Lakeland Regional and all that stuff. So yes, thank you very much, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you very much. So I'd now like to invite any other guest that would like to speak about their journey as a trauma survivor. Mr. Brown. And you can either stand, I don't have mics, so if you can just project your voice or try,
I don't have any trouble doing
or
that.
you can stand from your seat.
When you're a girls golf coach, you learn to project. I'm so glad of you guys that it's been years since you, and you're still emotional. It's only been months for me. And look at the miracle that's standing in front of you. I don't know which doctor gave me the name the Miracle Man, but I mean to tell you, I'm going to tell you a miracle. And I don't care if you believe in God or not. I really don't, because there is a God. And, I pray for you if you don't believe in God. Believe me. But first for me, this ought to be celebrate the people here. To me, I just can't tell you. You guys are living instruments of an all-powerful God that uses you in incredible, spectacular ways, and that spared my life. You guys were so instrumental in sparing my life. I don't want to take a lot of time, but I can't tell my story without taking a little bit of time. I am a girls golf coach. I've known Bond for so long, and it was so emotional the day that he came into my room. I didn't even know about his wife, and my wife fortunately didn't tell me at that time, because I could have never taken it. But he took the time to come see me shortly after his wife died. It was like, goodness gracious. I don't even know what the trauma room looks like. But I know that I had a home away from home in trauma intensive care for 26 days. I was in this hospital for 47 days, and it all started September 5th. And Labor Day, when I was on my way to Webster, had a load of stuff in my trunk. I was having a great day singing, praising the Lord, drinking my coffee. I get to Markham Road and 98 North. I'm going 50 miles an hour. And somebody, I have no idea who he is. I don't care who he is so much. I mean, it was just one of those things. He ran a red light, and I ran right into his axle. And I had a full load of books in my trunk. And I mean, my car was smashed so bad. And the guys over here, I spoke to somebody out front that actually was, they came or they knew the people. The first guy that came up to me, he's like, I said, I'm on Coumadin, I'm on Coumadin. And the Lord had given me a vision. This is why I'm here today. I was like, oh, my wrist was, and I went, oh, and I looked down and I see blood, but it was a vision. I wasn't bleeding. I was bleeding inside very seriously. And I had a choice. I said, oh, Lord, I can come home right now to you. And I decided, he said, no, I'm not finished with you. And now I know why. Because I have had a chance to, I'm getting mixed up here a little bit, but that's that head thing. You're right. These guys are right about how long it takes and about the eating and the going to the bathroom. Mine was magnified, accelerated, obviously. So, at any rate, I'm at the red light. I hit this guy. Kaboom! I never saw him. I never knew what hit me. No, I had no idea what happened, except I woke up and I mean, you're not unconscious. You're sort of, you don't know what you're disoriented. And this guy's sitting at the window just after I thought about, oh, okay, Lord, you're not finished with me, okay. And the guy says, I said, I'm on Coumadin, I'm on Coumadin. He said, okay, gotcha. Don't move. You are seriously injured. And I was like, okay. The next time I saw somebody, he was at the window too. And he's like right there. He says, get those jaws of life over here now. I'm like, jaws of life? Jaws of life? Got to cut me out of this thing? The next thing I remember was getting into the hospital, to the ambulance. They lifted me up. Apparently it hurt pretty bad because I woke up. And then after that, I don't remember anything for quite a while. The first thing I remember basically was my wife. I remember one other thing in the hospital before everything happened, right? The day that it happened was when you told me I was in the accident. Okay, so I was in the emergency room, and apparently I was able to give my phone number and what have you. They called my wife, and she said, oh, you've got a broken wrist. Yeah, I had a broken wrist. So, but I was able to tell them my wife's phone number, and so she come up. She said, you were in a hospital, and you were in an accident. I just shook my head, yes. And she said, what happened? I went like that. Somebody turned in front of me. And driving illegally. His car was not registered, and he had hardly any insurance at all, which is not part of the story, really. Small part. The part of it is that I want to tell you about is September 5th. I was in incredibly good physical shape. I'd been walking miles every day, doing push-ups at Lake Parker, and pretty good golfer my whole life. And I'm so thankful to tell you I have already played golf. And the first round I shot 88. So I am rushed to the hospital. I have 5 broken ribs. I have a severely broken wrist. I have a cracked sternum. I have a lacerated liver. I have a lacerated spleen. I have a partially collapsed lung. I can't breathe, and they put this machine on me to breathe immediately. And I don't know if I'm telling the truth, but I don't think so. To me, I don't think anybody really thought I was going to survive except one person, and she's sitting right there. My wife latched onto that belief, you are going to survive. And when I woke up, I knew I was going to survive. I had thousands of people praying for me worldwide. They have a network, The paper, I don't know why he chose me, but they wrote about 6 articles about me. And so many times lately, it's just people, oh, I read about you in the paper and your story. And I've had so many chances to witness to people about the care of this place. And I also wrote a letter to the editor about this hospital and the wonderful, wonderful care that we received here. And I don't know the nurses. I don't know the doctors too well that took care of me, but thank you so much. Thank you. And when I woke up, I wasn't a nice guy, I can tell you that. I wasn't really nice. I was like, you spoke of the dreams, Dan. Oh, so vivid. I woke up, I was like, had to ask my wife, did they take me somewhere? Did they lift me here? No, they didn't dare lift you here. I mean, it was only down the block, really. But your mind just does all these crazy things, and I had all these horrible dreams. I died in every one of them, pretty much every one of them, but I came back to life. I came back to life in another dream immediately after. That was a spiritual battle. For those of y'all that might not know too much about it, there was a battle in my body to who was going to win, I guess. But I knew who was going to win. When I woke up, I knew that I was surviving. And I have asked my pastor friend here, Pastor Rick from my church. This is a man of God that was in this hospital. We tried to figure it out. We think it's about 39 or 40 days of days I was in the hospital, 47 days in the hospital, he was here praying for me and praying for other people as I'm sitting in trauma unit. Other people are coming and asking him to pray for their loved ones. So much good came out of it immediately. And now I am playing golf again. I'm subbing again. I'm coaching again. You know, season starts July 31st, but I, have the girls out playing golf, and I'm expecting some big things from my golf team in the next few years, and I'm hoping that the Lord will grant me life enough to health enough to go on with that. But I can tell you that as people gathered around my bed, and I'm not going to say what floor I was on, what room I was in, and what nurses it was, because I understand there's some regulations against this. But I had groups of nurses praying for me and singing to me too, when they found out who I was and how involved I was in my church. Please don't try to find out who they were and get them in trouble. But
It's all good.
it is good. It's great. And I tell you what, I was a strong believer before, and I am incredibly stronger now, because I know that I felt the power of God in my body and still do. If you just think of all the things that I went through, September to May is only 8 months. And I am totally and completely blessed to be standing here in this kind of condition, and having lost 30 pounds of muscle. I'm with you there, couldn't move hardly all. I'm like, what happened? I can't even move my legs. And I had, huge, powerful legs. And now I do again. But that's what I'm talking about, the power of the prayers that people prayed for me. I don't know why God chooses to let 2, 3, 4 go. Let's save 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know that. All I know is that I'm thankful that he chose me, but I'm mostly thankful for this fantastic hospital and all of these people I see here. If I could come down and shake each one of your hands, I would. But just know, I know, and I represent a lot of people that aren't here that have survived trauma units and been transported in an ambulance. I don't care who they are. They have to be joyful and thankful to you guys. And I know that you love your jobs, because when I throw something at you, you don't throw it back at me. I actually threw one of those boards that you were talking about with whoever was talking about the letters. I wasn't so good at that. I'd be trying to get to the letter, and I wanted to touch here, and I'd be touching there. And so I just finally got so frustrated, I just let it go. But I wasn't really throwing it at her. She thought I was, but God bless you guys. Thank you so much for being here, each and every one of you, and you trauma people and the EMTs and the doctors, especially the doctor that gave me the name Miracle Man, because now a lot of people call me that. And I had nothing to do with that miracle, though, but I have done my part. I've worked hard. I rehabilitated Hard Brock. I worked, when they said, do this, I was like, I can't do it. And they shook hands and said, oh yeah, I can do it. My wife was bragging on me. When he wakes up, he'll do what he has to do to get out of here. And I did. And actually, I went from trauma intensive care to trauma care for 5 days up to Banish. And I was only in Banish about 2.5 or 3 weeks, and then to Grasslands. If I was a young man and knew what I knew about PT right now, I believe that I would be a PT. I think so much and believe so much in you guys and the physical therapists, and the joy that they get out of watching watching the guys that are in here that have been hurt, the joy they get out of watching you succeed and pulling yourself up and taking those steps. When you're walking 4 miles and you wake up and you can't walk at all, it's pretty mind-boggling. It really is. And I didn't need this so much. Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Would anyone else like to speak? That's okay.
Anyways, a lot of ER staff all of us. My mom was released yesterday.
132 days.
Yeah.
132 days.
January 6th, she got really bad wreck.
Did you cut the roof off the pickup truck?
Yeah, and
She was blue when she got to the hospital. The officer there said she didn't think we were gonna make it.
she, she had less than a 20% chance of surviving. She had multiple organ failure.
All the ribs were broke,
Yeah.
couple holes in her lung.
Yeah, she's
Amazing. Pulled through all ribs.
And if it wasn't for everybody here, I wouldn't be here. The nurses and all were right behind my kids and my husband, and they said, she's gonna do it. She's gonna make it. And all I can know is, I don't remember being in the unit. I remember waking up one day, and there was my family. And I was able to say, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
And not to talk about myself, I'm a disabled veteran. I've got a paralyzed left arm, and I've always called her my hero. She helped me start my life over again and recover from my injuries, and then to see her and what she's gone through, and the hospital staff, the whole time we were praying for a memory, or praying for a miracle.
We got one.
I realized recently we never had to pray because, the staff is the miracle.
I want to thank you all very much, bottom of our heart. My daughter said it's fine with all the nurses. I've got more sisters, I've got more daughters now than possibly ever think. And I love it better because of that.
He's got the juice.
And I'm a biker, and my beard in wintertime gets big. And when I come in from the wind, we got to ride every day, and my beard gets bigger and bigger. In March, it got warm, so I cut my beard off. Just down to a little bit, just grown back in just a couple months. And they all come in the room just to say, you actually did cut his beard off. And they were all just surprised, just that I was going to do that. Then it got cold. That was my scarf.
Well, thank you very much.
But I love them all. Thank you all.
And the Roberts family would like to speak.
My name is Kelly Roberts, and Chase, you can put your headphones on now because I know you don't like to hear Mom talk. We got our call January 29th, 2016. And they said that Chase had been in an accident, and I said, not again. 15 months prior to that, he had also had an accident. So twice he's been through this trauma unit. I can't say thank you enough. I see a lot of the faces, the doctors, the nurses, the trauma, the support, the transport teams. He had a C4 spinal cord injury. They told us it's not likely he will walk. When the swelling goes down, we can, maybe we can tell more. But go home, prepare your house, because he's going to be handicapped. He's just, get your house wheelchair accessible. And Dr. Campanelli did the surgery, and he said it's just wait and see. The doctors did, just encouraged us. When you talked about family, this is family to me. We spent days here. There was a lot of tears shed in the hallways. The doctors encouraged us. The nursing staff encouraged us. And that strengthened us so we could encourage our son. You know, nothing moved from the neck down. Has anybody ever thought about laying in that hospital bed and not being able to call for a nurse, not being able to push that button? It's scary. It was scary for my husband and I as parents. He was 25 years old. We didn't know what was going to come. We didn't know. The next day, he started to move his toes. Again, the doctor said, if he's showing any return, we've got to get him out of here fast. I don't think the Banish Institute was up and running, you know, for his needs at that moment. He ended up going to Orlando Regional, and he was there for 6 weeks. He came home, and that's when my journey began as a caregiver. And I am blessed to have been on that journey with him. When you have your guys and they're little, and you watch them take their first steps, you know, as a parent, oh, that's awesome. You know, he gets tired of hearing it. But he was 25 years old, and we're watching him take those first steps. You talk about the normal things that you don't think about. The first time he was able to pee in a bottle, we said, oh, he go pee in a bottle, baby. He's like, Mom, stop. But I just can't tell you enough how much we thank all of you. I couldn't even begin to name the ones that have helped us through this journey. And this young man is walking. He can even dance. And I'm just very thankful for all of you that played a part in helping him get where he's at. He has done the physical therapy. He works out at home and he sleeps. And he works out and he sleeps. And you talked about being a physical therapist. That's what he's going to school for.
Very inspiring. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Yeah.
Come on up.
I didn't expect this, but no, I must be the dumbest person in here because everybody else has come here by accidents and stuff, and I kind of created my own. I was playing golf and playing bad golf and started having bad beer, and anyway, finished out the day, eat dinner, everything's going good. I have a 19-year-old dog, live upstairs, and dog's upstairs. I carry him up, and you know, he had to go to the bathroom, so I carry him down and let him go to the bathroom, carrying him up. I'm 13 steps up, and I just got up there, the dog's squirming, so I just let him down. Anyway, I took a step back, and well, I just found the stairways and reached it over and grabbed on, tried to hold on for dear life to stop myself, but I went head first, and the paramedics come in there and picked me up, and I don't remember much about it. I didn't say much, but you know, I lived in Plant City, I still do, and they said Lakeland Regional is the best place to take him. Anyway, so anyway, I get here and get stitched up in the head where I end up bleeding quite a bit, but you know, this is just off the top of my head, but anyway, next morning I'm being checked out, and I'm kind of fumbling around with my hands and stuff, and the nurse is checking me out. I already got my brother coming in to pick me up, and she said, boy, you don't look too good. I said, yeah, I don't feel so good. And I'm sitting up, so I'm moving. Kind of feel numb, but I'm moving. And she said, well, can you touch your finger? And I said, well, my wrist hurts. I can't do much with this hand. I found out I broke this hand, or this wrist. And so I did it with my other hand. She said, can you touch your nose? And yeah, sure. I'd never missed my nose before. I missed it by about 1.5 feet. And she said, wow. Okay, look, lay back down. I'm remitting you. We're going to run some tests. And I said, why? She said, look, you got motor movement, but you have no motor control. And what it was is I ended up, with her help, you know, keeping me here, doing tests, found out I fractured my 3rd, 4th, and 5th cervical, and I have a pinch in my nerves, or a bruise, and I'm still numb through my body. I can still get the tingling everywhere, but from that point on, it's been nothing but a recovery. The people that helped me, and you know, I miss the shots that I used to get. Yeah, how much pain you have? Too much. Just can I get another shot? Take this. No, can I get a shot? But anyway, I just want to say, you know, to the people that brought me here, to the nurse that got me, and this is Brian's in here, who's my practitioner, Captain Neri, set my neck. I'm straighter. Everything's going good. I'm getting back to, and by the way, I teach tennis. Anyway, I got a tennis lesson here at 3 o'clock, so I got to be going. But anyway, the little kids, you know, bunch of prayers from Plant City and stuff. Plant City's a close unit there. But all I want to say is thank you. I came in and gave everybody some chocolates when they told me about what's coming up here. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that I came in. I remember you know, being in there. And but I just want to say thank you, because if I would have went home, I probably would have been paralyzed. I probably would have fractured my neck, and being stupid is what stupid is. I would have ended up in another story, and instead I'm still self-employed, I'm still working, and I'm still doing things, and I'm getting stronger. And I thought, well, I got it rough. I got numb. I can't even feel this. Yeah, now I know better. So anyway, I'm blessed, I'm lucky, and I'm great stories, strong stories, and I'll never forget this stuff. And again, thank you to you all. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Mr. Wilt.
Hello, my name is Bo Wilt, and in 2008 I got into a 4-wheeler wreck. Same as you brought, had a head injury. Dr. Campanelli and Savawali, Dr. Wall, Dr. Sion. Only reason I remember them all so much so because after my wreck was over with, I came back up here and got a job around these people and as a transporter. Thought I wanted to be in physical therapy assistant, so I was going to school, but I couldn't really remember that good because of my head injury and so forth. I guess I could tell y'all about all that stuff that was wrong with me. Broke all my ribs, broke my back in 3 places, and my hips, poked my lungs, and had that tube in my brain, my chest tube and the trachea, and all kind of stuff. But that's almost minor. I'm just so thankful that the hospital here are so good to their patients. And like I said, it touched me so much that I came up here and got a job for almost 3.5 years, pushing patients around and encouraging these other patients that they're going to get through this and they're going to do it. Because at the time of their life when you're sick like that, you're looking for any kind of hope. And if I could be that person, and as I was encouraging them to get better, it was helping me to get better through my struggles, my pain, my unfortunate outcome. But I just want to tell that hospital staff and doctors, thank you all so much. And yeah, I mean, I love y'all dearly like a family, so I just want to tell you thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. Would anyone else like to?
I just wanted to let you know that during the 26 days that he was in intensive care, he was sedated most of that time. So he doesn't really know how to express the appreciation that we feel for the nurses and the doctors and the trauma unit, for all the procedures that he went through, the 6 surgical procedures that he had. And you all were great, and y'all, I just can't thank you enough for all that you all did, and for the way that, like you said, God used you to save his life. And we're just so grateful for that, and for the physical therapists and for the EMTs and everyone that was a part of his recovery. And thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Alexis. This is my husband, Brandon. Brandon was in a very severe motorcycle accident coming home from work, March 31st, 2015. We had just lost my mom. We had also just welcomed a baby boy. We weren't quite sure what our future would hold. Being so young, just lost a parent, your best friend, you can't really talk to him. It's hard to know where to go, what to do, decisions to make. I was 23, and Brandon was 22. If it wasn't for each and every person in here, there was other family members that were there with other patients who leaned a lot of prayers and support. The nurses, CNAs, PCAs, doctors, surgeons, anybody who laid hands on my husband or on me and our newborn son. If it wasn't for you, I'm not quite sure where we would be. Brandon was here till July 29th of that year. We've been back several times since then. We are very familiar with the Advantage Institute. We are very familiar with a lot of the floors here. And if it wasn't for the love and the dedication to your jobs, the care for your patients, the willingness to sit down and explain things that to me might seem really, really foreign, to take the time to make sure that I understand what I'm doing and that I know that it's okay to make a decision, because I can't ask him what he wants. I just know to go on what I think is best, because I know what he wanted as a future. Brandon can now walk when we were told we weren't quite sure. He is completing outpatient therapy, and he is now able to hold his baby. He made it home to see his first birthday. He made it home for all the major firsts, the crawling, the talking, the walking, the running, our first ER visit. He's made it there. And I wouldn't have made it, and he wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for each and every one of you. And so for that, I'm very thankful. We get every day to thank our families, to thank our church family. We get every day to thank God. But we don't get a chance every day to thank each and every one of you. And for that, we're very thankful.
Thank you very much. I know this is always the hard part. Anyone else would like to speak? I'm just making sure there's a lot, okay. So thank you. Okay.
I would resent this if I didn't go. And I'm not going to go into detail because our situation is very current. Just happened in February. But I would be angry with myself if I didn't say publicly thank you to everyone. And to just let you know, angels you all are. And for all that you did for me, I know lots of you recognize me. And I just really, really appreciate it. So from our family, we want to say thank you so much to everyone. And thanks for the other survivors sharing your stories, because we draw strength from that. So thanks.
So, anyone else? Ms. Graham?
Me no is English.
That's okay.
Everybody, nurses, I don't know. Thank you so much. My baby tuvo un accidente.
I was in an accident like in 2015. And I was in a coma for like a month. And I had to go to rehab afterwards. And I was in coma for a month, and she kept asking how I was doing, and they kept telling her I was just stable. And I had a brain injury, and I had to open right here, tooth, yeah, and right here, so and right here because I had inflammation, and
le cubrió esto breve de las enfermedades y doctores.
And she just wants to say that she appreciates all you guys did and the patience you guys had, everyone, all the surgeons.
Gracias a los paramédicos, por ellos uno muchas veces te salvas.
And thank you for the pediatric, because for y'all, some people ask you to go to the hospital and make it in time.
Que la mayoría que manejemos que manejemos con precaución.
And she just wants to say that people who are driving to keep in mind that others people are driving to have to be careful for everyone out there.
Porque la vida es hermosa y creo que queremos, no sé, conducir mejor.
And that life is beautiful, that you shouldn't take it for granted.
Gracias y
well, just thank you to everyone that helped us and all the support and prayers we all have from their family, and to bless you all. And to bless you all always.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jennett.
I'm always reluctant to get up and speak because I feel like everybody's heard my story. But April 7th in 2007, I was making a turn, a left-hand turn at an intersection, and I had the green light, and all of a sudden everything went black. This lady had ran the light, and I was in Plant City, and there was some discussion about where I would go, either traffic down or here. And a helicopter and all that ended up in an ambulance here. And I can relate to everything that these other folks have said about the morphine drip. You know, it's really good until you keep pressing it and nothing comes out. Because it only will give you so much. But the other thing that comes to mind, I was in ICU for 6 weeks, and I did not, I mean, you don't remember any of that. I mean, people come to see you, and they'll tell you later, you know, yeah, you were talking to me, and not, well, no, you know. And after ICU, I was in the trauma unit for, total hospital stay was 3 months. And I can really relate to the physical therapy. When they first asked me to get in the chair by the bed, no problem. I get up, my legs won't move. You know, it's just like they're glued to the floor. And it took me a long time to, with the physical therapy, to get to where I could walk. And there were, one other thing really, my wife would come home, and she's an RN, but I mean retired, but she would tell me about this nurse. This is after I got home. About this nurse that looked like a teenager in ICU, and how young she looked and so forth. But she took care of me most of the time when her shift was on. And I was at one of these survivor meetings one year, and there was a pastor that was here, and after everything was over, he said, well, would you like to go up to ICU? So just by chance, she was there. So I got to meet her, and that was really something. But the care you get here, I can't speak more highly than I do. And one other thing that I was always embarrassed about was using a bedpan. And that was something that you had to really think about, you know, and then you progress the way you go to the bathroom. But I appreciate everything you folks have done, transportation and so forth. But what's bad about it is you don't remember the people in surgery, the people in ER, and on and on and on. And it's just good that we have the meeting that you folks put on. Thank you very much.
I'll ask some more. Anyone else? Just make sure, because well, thank you all for sharing such inspirational stories. And this event is always so meaningful to me, and I always get emotional. So thankfully, I didn't cry too much, but a lot of tears were inside. But you know, you really are an inspiration. Everyone in this room, I mean, just effortlessly working, you know, to help you. So thank you. I would want to also just acknowledge the other trauma patients that are here today. So I'll just go through the list. So from 2002, and they come back every year. She's already rolling her eyes at me. Miss Cheryl Colombo and her husband. Thank you very much for coming. I don't know where Michael's at, but the Rossiter family. Oh, there you are. Welcome. Thank you. Miss Amanda Lasley, thank you for joining us. The Potter family, thank you. Dylan Massey, there you are. I thought that was you. And that's all I have on my list. Did I miss anyone possibly? Okay, good. I did a good job. All right, well, thank you again for being here. I know it's a hard day, but I think I can speak for everyone in the room that they won't forget walking out here. And it helps us continue what we do every single day. So thank you very much, everybody. So without further ado, please put your hands together for our closing remarks presented by LRH's Medical Trauma Director, the one and only Dr. Sowell.
I feel like a rock star.
Look like a basketball star.
It's the shoes. I want to thank everybody today for coming. This is a celebration of survivors, and probably the biggest survivors, yes, the patients are, but most of you don't know what the heck's going on during all of this, as you can hear. Thanks for coming, Representative Burton and Commissioner Mills, thank you. I think what you've seen here is the hard work that's put in by every single one of these individuals in the back of the room. Ron, you are a survivor, okay? The miracle was 74 days of being with her in addition to what you had before that. So, thank you for coming. To the rest of you, thank you very much. I don't want to go by names because eventually everybody gets kind of bored. But, you know, to our friends and colleagues at the Lakeland Fire Department, the Polk County Fire Rescue, the guys that go into the middle of the craziest zones to try and get you guys out before things go even from bad to worse. I want to thank you guys for doing a hell of a job. Can I say hell? Yeah. Because I've seen these guys, I've actually gone out on scenes once in a while, and they work under really dire circumstance because their goal is kind of a singular vision: get this person out before things go bad and get a movie here as soon as possible. Sometimes they hand them up to the air crew from LifeNet and or AeroMed. Thank you guys individually. You do a heck of a job. Straight to heck from hell. And then we get to work. We start working. And when you think about it, it's this whole team concept, you know, and it sounds kind of nebulous, but I wouldn't do this anywhere else. I wouldn't do this with anybody else. I think the key thing I'm going to walk away from before I start getting kind of mushy is angels wear black. Okay. The nursing staff in this hospital is top notch. I wouldn't work with anybody else. Guys, thank you very much. I've seen them go out of their way. You've seen them clock out and come back in, which I think is probably legal, but you know, because they care so much about you guys. They care so much. I mean, they're off the clock, they're still coming in, they're working. The day that, you know, Tammy passed, people came in off shift when they heard that, you know, things were coming to a close. They came in off shift to kind of be with him. You know, that's heart, guys. That's what this is all about. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you all very much again for coming, and there's light refreshments in the back, and for the family members and the patients who have not received t-shirts, please make sure you get one. Thank you very much again.